In New York City, where virtually any form of self-defense is illegal, we're told that the NYPD is here to protect us. Is that really the truth? Does the NYPD make you feel safe?
Sometimes.
The NYPD? Sure I do, yeah. I haven't had any problems in the city.
Absolutely. Totally safe.
What I've seen, the crime rate has gone down, so I do feel safe.
Say there was a hypothetical situation when you were on a subway and you were being attacked and the NYPD was there. Would the NYPD come to your aid?
Probably.
Absolutely.
Yes, I would. I'd expect the police officer to intercede, yes.
Yes, I hope so.
If he was in the area, I would hope so. You know, that's their job.
Is the NYPD required by law to protect the citizens of New York?
Yes. That's what they're there for.
I wouldn't disagree with that, yes.
Yes, they do. They have to serve and protect.
They should be, you know, they have guns legally, and I hope them just standing there would be enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's in their code, so they are.
Do you want to meet my friend Joe?
My name is Joseph Lozito. On February 12, 2011, my life was changed forever. It happened on the subway just like this. I got up that morning, it was like any other morning. I get on the train, I enter the train, I come right to this seat where I'm sitting right now. I sit down, it's the first seat in the first car. On the other side of this wall is the engineer of the train. After I sit down, 2 uniformed police officers enter the train the same door I did. They proceed to go right into the motorman's compartment through a door just like this. The next thing I know, a man comes up from the middle of the car. He comes to a door, starts banging on the door, bang, 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 looking through the window. And he says, "Let me in, I'm the police." And the police officer behind the door, looking through that window, looks at him and says, "You're not the police." With that, the gentleman turns around and walks back to the middle of the car. As soon as that gentleman left this area, another person that was standing right here next to me comes up here, frantically starts tapping on the window, alternately tapping and looking over his shoulder at the first man, trying to get the police attention, trying to get them to come out. And he's tapping on the window and he's waving, and he's tapping on the window and he's waving. Still no action, they don't come out. The first gentleman that tried to get in, the one who impersonated a police officer, stops 2 feet from me, maybe 3 feet from the store, looks at me, looks down at me, I look up at him, he takes out an 8-inch cooking knife, looks me dead in the eye and says, "You're gonna die, you're gonna die." And with that, he takes the knife and plunges it into my face. I realize now I'm in a fight. So he plunges the knife into my face, now he's gonna come back. So he recoils his arm back for another plunge, and when he brings it back, I shot for his legs. And while I took him down, I was able to take him down, it gave him free rein for the back of my head. And while I was taking him down, he proceeded to stab me and slice me in the back of the head 3 separate times down to my skull. Now what he's doing is he's lying flat on the floor, he has a knife in his hand, and he's slicing up, trying to get me. And I'm trying to catch his hand with my left hand. Finally, the 3rd time he slices up, I'm able to catch his hand, I slam it down, he drops the knife. Right then and there is when I felt a tap on my shoulder, and it was the male cop that was in here, and he taps him on the shoulder and he says, "Okay, you can get up now, we got him." So, at this point, the blood is pouring out of me worse than any horror movie I've ever seen. So I get up and I sit in the seat right over there, basically diagonal from me. And now I'm basically sitting here like this, and the blood is just pouring out of my head. His partner, who was out here with him after they came out, after I had taken him down and disarmed him, never ever got on her hands and knees and tried to help him handcuff this guy. It took the brave actions of a man named Alfred Douglas, who was just another passenger on the train, came and helped this officer handcuff Maxim Gelman. Continually, I am sitting here, just sitting here bleeding to death. We're not moving. I don't know when we're moving. And an officer walked by me, and I grabbed the officer by the wrist, and I said, hey, you got to get me off this train. I'm going to bleed to death. I can't die on this train. And they said, you know, we're going to get you off. We're going to get you off. Don't worry, don't worry. I said, hey, do you have kids? And they said, yes. And I said, I have 2 sons. I said, you have to get me off this train. I can't die on this train. My sons need me. Don't worry, we'll get you off the train. I'm sitting here, I'm still bleeding to death. The blood's not stopping. At some point, that same gentleman, Alfred Douglas, I found out later, he comes over to me with his bare hand, stems the bleeding in my deepest wound back here, and he started screaming at the other people on the train that nobody's going to help this guy. You're going to watch a man bleed to death. How could nobody help this guy? And I'm screaming. I'm saying, you got to get me off this train. I'm going to die. I got a family. You got to get me off this train. And I was told they couldn't move the train because there were police officers on the tracks. So they couldn't turn the power back on until the police were off the tracks. So finally, after about 20-25 minutes of me sitting there bleeding to death, watching my life pour out of me, sitting in a puddle of my blood, we finally start moving. We get to 42nd Street relatively quickly, and now all of a sudden, these doors don't open right away. It took maybe 10 seconds for them to open. The paramedics came in, and as they're lifting me off of the subway seat onto the stretcher, I pass out. What I found out later was I passed out with my eyes open, and I was told they thought I had died. I snapped right back out into it, and that was the first time I had felt any pain. It was the worst pain I have ever felt in my life. The only way I can describe it to people is it felt like they poured gasoline on my head and lit it on fire. There was a pain, there was no soothing that pain. No, it was just incredible. It was a pain I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. First thing I was greeted with was, is that the perp or the Vic? So I thought that might have been somewhat insensitive, but so be it. You know, as I would find out, it's not the first thing they did wrong that day. But they get me into the ambulance. The paramedics in the ambulance were excellent. They, you know, I begged them. I said, keep talking to me, keep talking to me. I don't want to die. Keep me awake. They did. While they're doing, all the medical personnel is surrounding me. A police officer comes to the head of the bed that I'm on, and he shows me a mugshot, and he says, "Is this the guy that did this to you?" And I said, yes. And he said, well, you're a hero. And I said, well, I'm not a hero. Why am I a hero? He goes, well, he killed 4 people last night. And that was I get goosebumps now telling the story because I had no idea what had gone on the night before. Once I was stable, they moved me to a room. We were watching TV. And I think it was Channel 7. And they said, coming up, we have a press conference. Mayor Bloomberg and Commissioner Kelly talking about the apprehending of Maxim Gelman. So I look at my wife and I said, oh, this will be interesting. Let's see what they say. And so we're watching it, and I heard Mayor Bloomberg and Ray Kelly say, thanks to the swift action of New York Police Department and off-duty police officer Marcelo Razzo, we were able to apprehend Maxim Gelman on number 3 train this morning, and he's in police custody. And my wife and I sat there, and we were waiting for them to say anything about me, and they did. I was victim. I was not part of the capturing. I was not part of the taking down. I was not part of the disarming. It seemed kind of weird to me since I was the one in the hospital and I was the one that almost bled to death on the train. But apparently, I didn't do anything in the eyes of New York City Police Department. They told me later that week I'm going to have to testify before a grand jury. So I was just going to do some recovering on my mom's and then testify. So I got a call from the district attorney. I believe I testified on Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. I really don't remember. But he goes, well, after you testified, Terrence Howell testified. And long story short, Terrence Howell basically said he was watching from the door through the window, and he was about to come out to stop Maxim Gelman. But when Gelman reached into his jacket, he thought he had a gun. So instead of coming out, he closed the door and stayed inside. And when he told me that, it was like being attacked all over again. You know, I was raised to respect the police. You know, I know a lot of people that are younger than me, they grow up and they already, you know, have a hard on for the police. They don't like them. I wasn't brought up that way. I always had respect for the badge because I thought they were the good guys. And when I found out that this whole thing could have been prevented, it was like, you know, a blow to the nuts, really. Now I'm finding this out. Now I have to go home and I have to tell my wife. And we were furious. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you say when there's 2 police officers less than 2 feet away from you, behind a door? They have guns, I have nothing. They have nightsticks, I have nothing. So there were many factors that played into me bringing a lawsuit against these officers. We were very surprised when they put in their motion to dismiss before discovery, before we exchange any information, before any interviews are done, before we're able to acquire anything on their end. They put in the motion to dismiss. I believe they put in the motion to dismiss to get rid of me right away. This is bad publicity for them. Why would they want this story out there? They cited a law, and I don't know if it's a law or a loophole in the law, but what they said was basically they did not owe me or anyone else on that train a duty to protect. Even though everyone says their motto is to serve and protect, there are laws on the books where a police officer has no duty to protect you. So even though that day I was as armed as what you're seeing right now, and they were armed with guns and nightsticks and the element of surprise, they owed no obligation to me or anyone else on this train to protect us. There's so many inconsistencies in the statement by the police that I pray that the judge realizes that and says I can't dismiss this case. There's too many questions surrounding it. And all I want is my day in court. I want my opportunity to tell New York City, to tell the world, this is New York City. It's the center of the universe according to a lot of people. People from other countries dream of coming to this city. And to me, the NYPD is a symbol of safety and security, and they're there to protect you. That's what I always thought it was. I always thought that's what the police were there for. And now I know, because of my case, the police don't have to do anything. So what they did that day by staying in there and not coming out until I had control of Maxim Gelman, until I had disarmed them, in the eyes of the city of New York and the eyes of the state of New York, is perfectly okay. And there's something wrong with that. If that really is the case, the system is flawed. Something has to change with the system.
The PBA delegate that I had sent to prison for beating up black people, he wasn't a delegate or a police officer, he was a criminal.
He was navigated by William Rodriguez, who ended up opening up the door that saved his life on that fateful day. This is the video of them meeting for the very first time.
God, you really?